SBR TV, I'm Peter Loshak. This is our NFL Experts Roundtable for Week 14 in the NFL. We are joined once again by returning guests Scott Kellen from 6centsports.com and Dave Golikoff, senior sports columnist from AskMen.com. Thanks, guys, for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
Dave, let's start with you. You picked Chicago at Denver as one of your games that you want to talk about. Now, Denver, of course, with Tebow has been a great bet. They've been an underdog, I think, like 6 or 7 weeks in a row and won outright. Most of those, I think they're on like a 5 or 6 streak now. But here, now they are, for the first time, a favorite. 3.5 points at home against Chicago. Now, normally I'd be leaning towards betting against Denver when they start to become a favorite. But in this case, Chicago is in such shambles that maybe the good bet here is on Denver. Their quarterback had a 23.8 rating last week. Matt Forte, of course, is out. So looking at it, and Denver, of course, is a very tough place to play on the road. So all in all, maybe Denver minus 3.5, despite the fact that they're not really getting blowouts, might be a good bet here. Is that how you see it?
I actually do like Denver on, I guess the spread money line, spread being if it hits 3 or if you have to buy, or on the money line for them to win outright. But my favorite play in this game, Peter, is actually the under. I know last week the Denver Broncos and the Minnesota Vikings went over rather easily, but pretty much all of the other Denver Broncos Tim Tebow games, most of them anyways, have been low-scoring, defensive, running the ball type, chew the clock type of games. And I really see that being the case here in this contest. I just don't see how Chicago's going to get anything done. The offensive line was brutal against Kansas City last week. Kansas City came into the game, I think, with something like 7 or 10 sacks on the year, and they got, half of that total amount last week against Chicago. So if Chicago struggles to score against a team like Kansas City at home, I just don't see them scoring very much against Chicago against Denver on the road. And on the flip side, Chicago knows really their only path to victory here is to keep this low scoring, keep Denver from running the football, keep this very nip-tuck, low-scoring field goal type game. So I know it's a low total here, 35, 35.5 points. But I just don't see that many points between these two teams.
Scott Kellen from 6centsports.com. What's your take on this game? Do you think that 35, when these totals get really, really low, are there ever NFL games when you're not counting weather that actually are still a good bet on the under? What's your take on these lines?
I think there could be value to the under. I make the number in this game 39, but that number is, assuming they're year-to-date numbers for the most part. I do look at the last 4 weeks as well. But you've got a lot of Jay Cutler obviously built into that and whatnot. Obviously the only problem with going under in a low total like that, you get a couple things that happen, defensive score, special team score, and whatnot. It can screw that up. But the way this game's going to play out, Denver's going to continue to run the ball, I think, and Chicago's been horrible with Haney in there. Lovie Smith said they'll continue to work on it, and it'll get better, and I'm sure they'll make some improvements, but I just don't see it now. You've got Forte out. It's going to be a defensive battle. Denver won't throw the ball unless they absolutely have to. And the Bears still have a good defense. Under's probably the best call here. I agree. And I like Denver laying the points versus taking Chicago laying the points. I just don't see them generate any offense at all. In Denver, they're 6-1 with Tebow right now and playing well. So I would lay the points, and I would look towards the under if I did anything with the game.
All right. Okay.